Welcome back to Travel Again Insights, a weekly look at what matters most to our amazing industry. Ed, welcome back after a week off for the holiday. We're back and certainly plenty of action in the travel industry since we were gone.
Nice to see you, Mike. I hope you had a good week off. And let's dive into the news because there's an awful lot to cover today. Let's start out with the big news from while we were gone. That fully vaccinated people are at low risk from travel. The CDC finally came out with a position on this. Update our viewers with what this means.
Yeah, so, a very important milestone and one that I think is, again, a key to moving forward, but it's clearly just that. It's an early milestone, but we're finally getting some clarity that, from the CDC to tell people that when they're vaccinated, they're at low risk to travel. Now, ideally, they still follow all the same procedures and protocol in terms of what you do when you're traveling. But it does, finally put some clarity and I'd say match up what, people who knew and what we knew about the effectiveness of vaccines and the role that will play and what it means to travel, where we've created these, basically very safe travel environments when you're inside of an aircraft or an airport or a hotel room. So combining all that, it's starting to begin to open up, travel again. Now, primarily, this is really a domestic win and a domestic step forward. We're really almost at the beginning still when it comes to international travel.
Okay, thanks, Mike. During the last period, again, a lot of news about vaccine passports or digital passports, as they're sometimes called. The New York Times declares them likely legal, but there's still quite a lot of debate on this. And here in the U.S., it's gotten political. Update us at this point.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is one where certainly in Florida and Texas, particularly, they become highly politicized in terms of their use. The concerns coming from those who, and certainly officials who feel that they need to create a position or take a position that says that we're concerned about them use for like everyday life. And I guess it means, they're worried that it will extend beyond where you're going to create this two class of people who are vaccinated, those aren't. No one will be able to go to shows or restaurants or stores unless they're vaccinated and have proof. And that's not what's being done at all, right? But it's being exaggerated to an extreme, politicized to an extreme. And unfortunately, what that means is it hurts travel because we need those tools in place if we're going to open up, international travel, outbound and inbound again. We need to be able to, prove that people are vaccinated, verify that people are vaccinated and or tested, depending on the situation. No one's mandating vaccinations. No one's mandating anything, but it just means that if you want to be able to travel freely, without quarantine and be able to move, between borders and resume business and life when it comes to especially international travel, this is a really critical tool. The basis of this goes back like 100 years. I mean, it goes back to the yellow card, basically your vaccination record that goes back to originally for yellow fever and for, other things that people have been vaccinated for a long, long time. Using that, it was a paper card that people carried to show I've been vaccinated. All we're trying to do is bring that into the modern era, and allow it to be done digitally, very securely, with all the privacy, tools and restrictions in place. But this would allow us to basically efficiently move people through a process. Kind of think of the way it's going to be used as almost like it's like pre-check for health. Like you're basically it'll allow people to move efficiently through a process. Doesn't mean that there won't be another process for people who don't have it. It just means when it comes to travel, this will really enable an efficient, safe way that you can move through that process. And again, with the objective of reducing and eliminating use of quarantine period so that it makes sense to travel again internationally. So this is a very important thing we're trying to do. And what we're focused on at Travel Again is trying to figure out ways that as an industry, we can move that discussion, the politicized discussion away and focus really on the use of tools like this for travel.
Okay. Speaking of travel and tools, we've been focused on testing since we began travel again, and another study has come out about how safe and effective testing is when done right in relation to travel. Thanks to our friends at IATA. Mike, tell us about this one.
Well, again, testing, this is one of those issues, again, where if you've been vaccinated, clearly it reduces the need for testing to be to be used for those people, but that's only going to represent a part of the population. We need testing in this formula as a way for people who aren't vaccinated, depending on the situation. And you have to think bigger. This is also about creating processes and practices that we can basically wind down and then ramp back up again. Should we have an outbreak somewhere, it will allow us to get things in place, and have an ability to do that. The way that we move up and down, the various levels of risk really dictates the policies that we need and what we put in place. And so again, what we're looking for here is, yes, very safe, quick, cost-effective testing is going to be important. Ways that you can do this at home. Think about the other things that you can go to a drugstore for and get a rapid test. We need that same capability for no matter what this and whatever the next outbreak is, if we're going to protect our system for the long term. We talk about travel again, but we also, the other message here is never again. We want to be able to travel, put processes and infrastructure in place so we're ready for the next time, and there will be one. And so if we're ready for it, we can be prepared. Now, again, hopefully we'll never see a pandemic like this again in our lifetimes and the next lifetime after that. But the reality is, in a global economy, in a world where we've gotten all that much closer, travel is a great benefit. It's an amazing part of what we, brought cultures closer together and all the benefits that go with it. But it's also comes with some risks and some challenges, and that's what we're trying to address.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Our last article is about masks, and that COVID, that masks save lives. This one's about Americans using masks, but generally and broadly, masks save lives, and should they be around forever is the question.
Well, I'll just say this to everybody that I know, and certainly even if you have kids, especially, you appreciate this comment. I mean, for all this, we've had one of the healthiest winters as a family that we've probably ever had. And I've got kids, and with that comes exposure to all kinds of, less serious, but certainly routine flus and colds. And in a mask environment, it's proven out. It just shows. Just look at your everyday life. We hardly had anything this winter to deal with as a family. And so, I use that as just a way to kind of bring it back to like life, everyday life. But masks do save lives. Masks, we say, look, get vaccinated to protect yourself, but wearing masks and following procedures and creating some distancing and all the other things we put in place. Let's not abandon those just because we start to see an improvement in all the metrics, right? Keeping that as a part of our practice, it's like, why not? If you told me that my biggest price I had to pay for being able to resume international travel, resume it for business, for leisure, and do it healthily and safely, and and I have to wear a mask, I think that's a very small price to pay. And look, the numbers show it. The evidence shows it. Let's just embrace it. Why not? And so, I say, look, that we do need to keep this as part of our protocol. I think it'd be very great, healthy, and it'd be a great way to protect our industry and our brands as well.
Okay, Mike, that is the news. A lot to cover. So thanks for your time. Great insights. And we will see everyone back next week with more news.
Yep. And again, the CDC announcement, big milestone. We should take a moment and really thank all the people that put a lot of hard work to get us to that point, from medical staff, experts, frontline folks, the industry, everyone in the industry. The amount of work, money, effort, time that went into creating an environment where we could finally get to a safe to travel again for a part of the population is pretty amazing and should be acknowledged.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.